Welcome. In today's video, I'm going to talk about bleeding brakes, more specifically, what goes wrong and what are the issues. I'm going to cover issues with levers and also with calipers. One more thing, I'm not sure if you're aware, but YouTube released a new feature. If you click on the little gear at the bottom of the screen, you can select dubbed language. So I record these videos in English, but if you prefer them in French, Spanish, or any other languages, you can select that from the drop-downs. Today, we're sorting out brake bleeding problems. Welcome to the i2GP YouTube channel. Welcome. As I've mentioned in my intro, today's video is about diagnosing of problems with bleeding of the i2 shifters, specifically hydraulic, because as you know, there was no fluid in mechanicals. So that shifter was sent by one of the followers. The problem they had is they tried to bleed the system. They tried everything. They tried pushing the fluid through the caliper, but the fluid wouldn't come through. So in this video, I'm going to show you what the problem was, what are potential challenges and the causes of these issues, and how to make sure obviously that doesn't happen to you. So I'm going to take the hoods off to show you closer, and then see you in a second. So I've removed the hood and the brackets, and now you can see the problem. So what is happening? The piston is sticking out, so piston is supposed to be all the way back, and that is usually caused by free stroke. So what most people do is just go here, and this is what they tried, by the way. So they came here and tried to back off free stroke, and this is what I'm doing here. So as you can see, that's coming all the way out and nothing is happening. And the reason behind that is because the reach adjust is backed off all the way, and then the springs are catching on the bracket inside. So that's the main issue. So I'm just gonna back off that completely here. So now that's fully done up. And now if I take the lever all the way as close as possible to the bars, so obviously see, you can still operate it, but obviously it's backed off. And now if I take off the free stroke, it works. So if you're trying to bleed your brakes and obviously you cannot push the fluid, you try backing off the free stroke and make sure your reach adjust is also obviously fully extended, so nothing catches inside. So that's one of the main issues. I would say 9 out of 10 times, if you don't have any or if you're having problems with bleeding your brakes, that's going to be the main issue. So make sure the free stroke is always all the way out. If that doesn't help, the reach adjust, it's going to be, it should fix that issue. So that's it for the shifters. I'm going to now move into calipers. So that's typical Shimano hydraulic caliper. Is 1 of 5, but the same thing, same process applies to pretty much any caliper except for the latest Dura-Ace 2-piece calipers. So when you take them apart, obviously you push the fluid through this bleed port, and the fluid comes here, then obviously it pushes the piston out, and then a fluid comes through here and it goes through this hole. Then you have a screw which obviously keeps that together, and then you got a little recess, and that allows for fluid to flow from this area to this hole here, and obviously the fluid comes here, comes in here, then obviously pushes the piston out and goes here and comes out through the brake hose mount. If you have any blockages within the caliper, usually that may happen. You must be very unlucky if that's dirt, but only other option is if you got a cracked piston, because the Shimano pistons are ceramic, and if you are using a sharp screwdrivers or any metal, you may crack them inside. And then obviously if someone was replacing that piston and they didn't clean it properly, some piston parts may be wedged inside. So that's that. But if you apply brakes, and obviously you can see the brake pads are moving, I would say 99.9% that's the problem with the free stroke adjustment. The only other option, apart from obviously damage the brake hose, is blockage in a port. So if you look inside your shifter, so that's 105, but again, same thing applies for other shifters. So you can see a white, or you have to trust me, that bit here, that is a bit of a white plastic, and if you take it off, that exposes a 3mm Allen, and obviously that's your, this is where your barb and brake hose comes in, and that little chamfered edge, this is what crushing your olive, and obviously the nut on the other side. So if that little plastic somehow is damaged by, I'm not sure, someone trying to push something to it, or the brake hose is slightly at angle, this may obviously collapse, and that's create a blockage. So the easiest way to do it, you can use a pick or some scalpel knife to kind of fish it out, and then you can undo that completely, as you can see, and then push it back on, and that just screws in. That's the same thread as a flanged bolt. So see, that's it, and then obviously push the plastic bit out. And if you take, obviously you have to take everything apart, but if you look inside, you can see the light through the master cylinder. So that's a straight through hole, so going from here all the way in, and then you got a little hole, so you can see a bit of a, in that area here when it zooms in. So that's a straight through hole. So if you can see the light, that means there was no blockage in the shifter. But like I said, 99.9%, that's the main issue. So why do we have these issues in the first place? Starting with calipers. Pistons are made from ceramic material. They're very hard but also very brittle. So avoid using any metal like spanners, screwdrivers, Allen keys to push the pistons back. Usually I would use a tire lever to just push them in. You can buy specific tool to push the pistons out, but usually that's the main reason why this piston would crack. With levers, so how the system works, so that's your bleed cap, that's your reservoir container here. This is where the fluid is kept, and that fluid is responsible to mitigate any changes in the fluid system level inside the system. So when your brake calipers or brake pads wear down, obviously the more fluid is required to push the pistons out, and that's the thing. Also small changes in pressure, atmospheric pressure or temperature. So that's where you got the bladder. So what is happening, as you can see here, so the fluid is in this container, and then you got one large hole and 2 or 3 little ones. So when the free stroke lever is fully back, so as you can see like that, the piston is in this position. So the first, or the seal, is just before the large hole. So when you apply brakes, so the first what's happening, that distance from the large hole into 3 little ones, that's your free stroke. So this is obviously the movement of the lever before the system is closed, and then this is where the pressure raising. So when your free stroke is fully in, I'm not sure why this is happening, maybe because some manufacturing tolerances, some rust buildup or dirt, that piston may be just ever so slightly closing these 3 holes. That means obviously the reservoir is completely shut off, and 2 things may happen. Obviously, number 1, when you try to bleed brakes, so you're pushing the fluid through the caliper, travels through the brake hose into your brake port, and then goes through here, and then it doesn't have any space to move. So obviously it's going to fill that gap here, but that's it. So to be able to bleed your brakes, you need to back off that piston, and that allows for fluid to flow here and then go through the bleed cap. Other thing might be a problem if your free stroke is fully done up. As you can see, the piston won't be able to take more fluid from the system, so your brakes may gradually go, or your lever may gradually obviously require a more movement when you're braking. So if you're noticing, obviously when your brake pads wear down, your lever travel should remain exactly the same, because obviously the fluid's going to mitigate that issue. But if you're noticing that over time your brakes are obviously, you need to squeeze them even more and more, and the bite point is ever so slightly closer to the bars, that's possibly a telltale sign that your caliper doesn't draw any, or your shifter doesn't draw any fluid from the reservoir. So it's personal preference how you ride your bike, but I usually have my free stroke all the way out. It might be all the way in, halfway through, it's up to you, but when you bleed brakes, it's good practice to just say back off free stroke. So this way, obviously, you're going to fill entire caliper, because it doesn't take much, but obviously we're talking about, what, 5, maybe 3 to 5 millimeters of travel, times obviously diameter of this piston, so that much fluid you're losing. Yeah, it's always good practice to back off free stroke before you bleed brakes. Here's a little bonus. People out there, please do not touch this screw. So I'm getting messages that people try to adjust a free stroke, so that's not free stroke. You got only 2 adjustments on Shimano, and I'm not sure if the specific reason, but obviously they are silver or chrome plated. So that's your free stroke, this is your reach adjust, and then pretty much that's it. Out of factory, this is taped, but when you had the Di2 for a long time, often these get, people tend to peel them off. But anyways, so what people think they're doing, that's some sort of a free stroke adjustment, a reach adjustment, I'm not sure what is the thinking behind, but they crank it all the way in, obviously that's cut, and what happens, you got 2 options. If you're lucky, you may crush this plug, which obviously holds a diaphragm or bladder in place. If you're unlucky, that stays in one piece, but this piece of plastic cracks. And when this cracks, that's the end of the story, obviously. I wouldn't try to fix it myself. Well, I did try, but obviously it didn't work. And I tried epoxy, tried melting plastic, and there's the thing is leaking like hell. So pretty much you're ruining your body. If you're lucky, then if that cracked, you may find a spare. If not, possibly you can fabricate something using mountain bike levers, because the bladder is exactly the same on mountain bikes, but the bladder is or bladder cap is slightly different. So please stay away from this screw. If you want to, for some reason, adjust it, let me just quickly just put it back in. So as you can see, you got a little channel here, and that sits here. So that's literally, this is a pinch bolt, so just pinching this cap or plug so it doesn't obviously move out, but obviously that is held in place by the shaft and 2 springs, so that's only there to kind of a secondary security or something like that. But as long as if you have to open it, as long as you keep this screw with flush with this little chamfered edge, I'm not sure you can make it out on the camera, then that's it. Please do not touch it. And if someone is complaining about they're losing pressure in the brakes, that's the first thing I'll check. Check if that wasn't adjusted, obviously if that's screwed all the way in. Often what you can do is just to leave this electronics, lift that up, and then if you see lots of sweating or lots of fluid coming out, I would say that's 99.9% because someone adjusted it where they shouldn't have to do it. The last thing is a bar clamp. So according to Shimano, that's supposed to be between 6 to 8 Newton meters. That's the range or tolerance where that is safe to do. But from experience, I would say every single bar is different, and depending on obviously the angle or the diameter of the drops, this may cause some issues. So I would always recommend starting with 4 Newton meters. If 4 Newton meters is enough to keep your shifters in place, obviously they do not move, I would stay there. The problem is people go up to 8, sometimes 9 or 10, and that puts in pressure. Obviously, if that's not straight line, and obviously that's slightly at angle, that's going to bend shifter either that way or that way. And as you can see, the master cylinder is very thin aluminium tube, and that gets slightly out of line, and then you get abrasion. Maybe that one is too good, but you get abrasion on the piston, and this is where you have a sticky piston. So if your shifter is sticky or the lever is returning very slowly, what I would do, I would reduce the torque on this bolt. so take it back to 4 Newton meters. So in the event if you crash a slightly looser fit shifter, it's going to turn rather than snap, and arguably it's a lot better and safer for your shifter to turn rather than obviously crack in either your bars or your shifter. So that's everything. If you have any questions, please comment below. And please remember, I'm not a trained mechanic. I'm not associated with Shimano. This is my opinion. So whatever you do at your own risk. But yeah, if you have a problem with bleeding, I would say 99.9% that's the cause. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comment below. And until next time, take care and bye-bye.